Thank you very much, guys, for an entertaining discussion. And we do have an update for everybody at home and in the audience here. First of all, thank you for your patience. The issue that we were experiencing on stage was a visual bug that made it impossible for the Copenhagen Wolves to determine Victor's health through the entirety of that last team fight. So our officiating team has confirmed that the bug did put the Wolves at a significant disadvantage. With that in mind, the game will have to undergo a complete remake with new picks, new bans, and we'll hopefully be jumping into that very, very shortly. Just in terms of flow, when a bug is noticed, the players have the option to pause the game, bring it to the administrator's attention, and from there on out, follow the rulebook to make a decision. So, complete remake coming in very, very shortly. We'll see what will change and if it affects the game in any way.
It's not like we look at the two comms here and there was anything specific you had to ban away. I mean, nothing really stood out completely. Airworks looked good on Fizz, but SK found a way to play around it. So I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, to see the same kind of bans and somewhat the same comms.
Yeah, and what I would also say, I actually think the remake in terms of champion picks probably hurts Copenhagen Wolves a little more because we're seeing that jungle Fizz for the first time in the LCS, the Karthus middle for Soren, Lissandra top. These are not champions my brain would automatically associate with the team. So SK actually have a little more information, as do the Wolves have more information about what SK were running.
Sure, but again, SK is running the same style as always, so no real surprise there. It does give them some information on the Fizz, of course. What's going to happen, how strong is it, what is he built in that case. But yeah, full remake. These teams have played against each other beforehand. So it's not like it's a complete surprise. We're like, oh, we now know what the Copenhagen was going to do. No, they know everything. We saw SK Gaming had no real problems playing around it before. And I just want to see what happens now in the pick and ban phase. Are we going to see the same one? Because the bans before, SK banned Nidalee, Cassiopeia, and Maokai, while Copenhagen was banned LeBlanc, Diana, and Zed. So full target on the mid lane for them.
And is the Diana ban worth it? That is.
I don't think so. That was the one I would change if I could. Not saying I would ban out the Victor straight away, but I would be a lot more afraid of Victor compared to a Diana from SK Gaming's side.
Right, we'll see if Copenhagen Wolves do decide to change that one. All 10 players are in the lobby, so with a little bit of luck, we should be getting into picks and bans in the not-too-distant future. In terms of champion picks and diversity, you know, Graves Annie, it's the same duo lane that the Wolves ran the last time they faced off against SK. For SK, Morgana support, not something we see at all on N-rated, in fact. It's Freddy that played at top lane. So a divergence from his standard champion picks.
Who's basically been Lulu. And that's been about it. Also Annie a few times. So
yeah,
I'm happy
seven games of Lulu, 3 games of Annie, 2 of Nami.
I'm happy to see he's changing up the style. And it's very clear SK Gaming coming back from IEM. They realized we need more champions that we can play on the top level. And we have to be able to adapt our strategy at least a little bit. They're still doing the 1-3-1, but to see how they're playing around Tristana and trying to fast push a tower with her whenever she gets the chance. They don't like instantly group on her. No, they allow Forgiven to set and farm. We saw yesterday on Tristana for him against Giants. Once you get to the late game, when you have an AD carry like Forgiven who's so good, he can win the games on his own basically for you at that time. So it's about getting him there. SK obviously had 3 dragons to 0 in the last one. Copenhagen Wolves kept trying to trade kills for objectives. Or, well, they didn't want to. Obviously, they wanted to get the kill fast and then thought they could defend in time, but they just couldn't because they were way too slow reacting to SK Gaming moving around the map.
Right, we'll see if SK can kick off the traditional lane swap and heavy pushing style once more. For Copenhagen Wolves, you can see Dentist on stage there now talking to the players. This is a difficult situation to be in. Complete remake. Psychologically drained, mentally drained.
It's been one game.
Playing on the stage.
It's been one game.
True, but let's be fair. We're all feeling the pressure and we were just watching.
That's true. I mean, it's never easy when there is a remake, but you have to get used to being able to play best out of 5s.
Yeah.
Anyway, so if you're drained after one game, you're going to struggle in the playoffs.
Fair point.
So in this case, it should be fine for the teams in terms of, you know, the mentality and attitude and everything and whatever. It's more about, again, how do you adapt? Do you take a chance? Do you completely redo your composition compared to what you did before here and trying to catch SK off guard? Or did you feel like it was working okay, there's just 1 or 2 mistakes you had to fix, then suddenly you come with a work? I mean, that's the big discussion now How do you play this game? Or do you just completely ignore everything that happened before and just kind of reset your mind? That also works for certain teams when you have these pauses here and resets. I mean, these guys are lucky. This was only half an hour. I've been sitting for like 1.5 hours, waiting and waiting and waiting. That's tough.
Well, fair enough.
So,
ladies and gentlemen, the remake of SK Gaming versus the Copenhagen Wolves is about to kick off. And as far as bans are concerned...
Same as before, yeah. If Nidalee comes in for SK, it's exactly the same bans from them. Copenhagen Wolves would then have to ban Z, and it is going to be the same deal for the teams. Nidalee is still not really an Airwax champion. He likes to be more on the engage front, typically. Now, obviously, now we have Fizz coming in, so I'm not sure if the SK will change that one. That was the only one we looked at and said, okay, this is not really an SK or Copenhagen Wolves style of pick.
And it's being discussed by SK. They have modified their strategy. Karthus is taken off the table. Rek'Sai as well as Nidalee are available. As you've mentioned, Zed was the previous ban by the Copenhagen Wolves at SK. Where will they diverge? Where will they change? 10 seconds left to go. What is your instinct, Fischer?
Question is if they want to ban Victor now, have SK Gaming first pick that Zed potentially. We know Soren can play it. And if they did go for Zed, we might just see Ari being picked from Soren and into Zed. And if you build a new item, we keep hyping up Luden's Echo. It works pretty well on Ari as well, but that's a potential strategy. From the Copenhagen Wolves, you can also just go the standard route, get like an early arm guard into a Morel Nomicon and play it that way. But Ari Zed is still very much a skill matchup. Both these mid laners should know.
So, Copenhagen Wolves also modifying their approach to the game. Fizz was the jungle pick of choice for Airwax previously, but now Rek'Sai, Nidalee, all options that they can go for. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going down a different path in this remake. Kennen and Graves. So, Youngbuck most likely going to take that Kennen up into the top lane, and we'll see what he's going to be paired up against.
Yeah, still getting that Graves is important for Freeze. It means that SK Gaming doesn't really have a good matchup in the bottom lane. I mean, the only thing Forgiving could do was go Caitlyn, but it's not a champion that's worked for them traditionally because you can't really do anything in the mid game on that champion. So Tristana can still be the lock-in for him, and then we see the same lane swap coming in from SK Gaming's side, where Kennen should be able to pick up quite some farm, a bit like Lissandra beforehand. Obviously, Kennen is a little bit easier to dive, I think it's fair to say.
We will find out. Freeze on Graves. 4 games played, 2 wins, 2 losses. Got a KDA of 8.83. That's good stats. Deficio, fist pumping in the air. Rek'Sai, Morgana lock for SK. There is the Ari for Soren, and Freeze will get his hands on Fizz once again. Rather, Airwax get his hands on Fizz, locked in by Freeze.
Airwax gets the Fizz. Can do the same one-on-one setup. Question is how is he going to do against the Zed? Because that's a very different matchup. Fizz normally outscales a Zed completely, and you can dodge his ulti, which means you're going to win that one-on-one fight, which is why I think Copenhagen Wolves are going to give that Zed over and not ban it this time around. And also you get that Ari matchup in the mid lane now. So this is looking okay for them in terms of how to handle the split push. And obviously Youngbuck is not going to have any problems holding Svenskeren if they find each other in a side lane.
This is brave indeed. Corki locked in for Forgiven. This will be the first time we are seeing Corki in the LCS from him, but we did see it in Intel Extreme Masters last week, and I was not particularly elated to see the performance. So let's see how he handles himself. Yeah, I was trying to look for a different one. I was trying to,
You were not impressed.
Broaden my horizon. Thank you for bringing it down, to bronze level, but I mean, I was trying to break out a little bit.
Fair enough. I'm not really sure what SK Gaming is trying to build here with their composition. I personally was never really a big fan of like double protect the AD carry, then you lock in a Corki, unless you can really abuse your mid-game spike, which is what we see from other regions and why Corki is considered such a high pick over there. But at IEM, Corki lost nearly every game he played in, and he was picked in like 12 games in total. Teams simply got punished in the mid-game if they couldn't get ahead, and that's where Corki starts really falling off after. This setup here from SK Gaming, it's the same super standard 1-3-1 Morgana in the top lane works for them because you can push the lane over and over, and you get a lot of pressure on the tower. You like slowly chip it away. And because they pick Nami, that tells me this time around they want to do the 2v2 lane. Despite Corki being in a bit of a disadvantage against the Graves, just because you get that Nami, it kind of makes up at least a little bit for a fairly weak level 1 to 5. And because you got the Morgana, well, then again, Morgana is fantastic in a lane swap. So I guess SK Gaming has both options here. But it's going to be so much more about using that mid game for them now, where Copenhagen Wolves suddenly going into late game has a lot of burst damage, a lot of AoE coming in here. If you get caught in a bad team fight from SK Gaming side, you get blown up.
Well, we'll see whether or not anybody does get caught. Team compositions are locked in. Teams have gone a near 180 degrees from what we saw previously. Different styles, different options. And Morgana this time around in Freddy's hands, not in Enrated's. It also makes me wonder whether or not that Morgana was going to go to Freddy previously and something spooked SK to give it to Enrated. You never know. You never know. We will find out as we are jumping into this remake. So then just once again, for anybody who may have just rejoined us, there was a visual bug regarding Victor's HP. Copenhagen Wolves paused, made the officials aware, and the decision was to remake the game. There are the revised team comps for SK versus Copenhagen Wolves game 2.0. Hashtag SK win, hashtag CW win. It has been a long time since we've seen the Rift here. And let's get back onto it for game 3 on day 2 on week 8 in the spring split of the LCS.
There we go.
Gotta get myself psyched back up to Fisher.
To the game now. So last time we had a lane swap from SK Gaming, where they managed to get that early tower. Freddy was heavily denied a lot of farm though. You won't be able to do the same against the Morgana. She's so good in a lane swap, just sitting there farming with her pool. She's hard to die because of the binding, because of the black shield. So in case there is a lane swap, then Freddy should feel a lot safer this time around than he was on the Hecarim.
Soren missed.
He's out, that's it.
Just saying, just saying.
Got the ward down, so worth.
And no deep vision this time around from the Copenhagen Wolves. Opting to just go for that standard fan position. I think Forgiven was in that bush yesterday where Freeze is currently standing and got chased out an early flash by the Giants. Bit of trivia if you watched the game yesterday. Completely irrelevant to the current setup. But we do have a very defensive start into Fisher. It looks like we're going to get those 2v2s. You touched on the fact Graves slightly greater than Corki, but Nami in some ways slightly greater than Annie.
It's a more defensive lane from SK Gaming side here, but you can take some pretty good trades. All their early game advantage will be for the Copenhagen Wolves, however, with this Annie Graves lane, which is going to be the problem for SK. But you can see how they didn't go for Tristana because they wanted that 2v2 lane with Morgana in the top lane against Kennen, just pushing in Youngbok over and over. And we still have the same problem for the Wolves in the early game, where Fizz needs more time. He needs to get that Devour, get it stacking a little bit compared to Rek'Sai in terms of the early pressure. So SK Gaming will have that advantage around the mid lane if there's any small fights. And Copenhagen Wolves getting the Grump down here. Let's see how many minions they will miss. SK Gaming is doing the same on the Crooks for them.
And also important to note, because of the lack of lane swap, Airwax is not going to be able to get that early first blood, which allowed him to accelerate his jungle pathing. So, minions down. What's your call, Fisher?
Well, Forgiven got the small golem for himself, so he's gonna hit level 2 very fast. And not a good trade early from Unlimited, taking a lot of damage. Let's see who gets the push here. You need that last range minion down for the Wolves to hit level 2, seeing as they only missed one of the melee minions. Forgiven already got his as he got the small golem, so no real push gonna happen here. There we go for the Copenhagen Wolves.
Bubble doesn't connect, and Rated's got level 2. We do see Forgiven Valkyring over to the side lane.
And that's
reason Unlimited push forward.
Not very good for Corki. There was this change where his W now cost 100 mana early. If you gotta use that at level 2, you're suddenly falling very far behind in terms of your mana pool, which you need to trade effectively.
Yeah, but all of the consumables from Unlimited have been used, so if Forgiven and Rated can stall this one out, maybe they can get some control. We'll see. Now time with a CS. Charm.
Oh, nice.
Dodge. Fox goes in. That was great play on the Zed. Managing to get out of range and actually just farming, basically ignoring Soren.
Keep in
Right in
mind,
the minion lane.
Zed starts with 3 potions, only the 2 of an Ahri, so he has that small sustain advantage. Svenska now down to this bottom lane, trying to go for them.
Are available. That's a double knockup from Sven. Freeze is exhausted. Unlimited gets a double stun onto Forgiven and Narrated. Forgiven flashes forward, gets first blood. It's not over yet. Airwax does go for the Sea Stone, Urchin Strike rather. Playful, Trickster, stun from Kennen. Auto attacks going out. One more plus the red buff. Gets the kill. 1-for-1 trade, and it goes to Airwax as well.
Yeah, perfect for him. He's really going to be important on this Fizz here, split pushing against the Zed in the late game. And once again...
Wow, Fox is on a mission. You see Svenska does not connect to the Prey Seeker. 110 hit points. Would have been close.
We're back though, and there's a lot of action in this early game here. 2 junglers, 1 win for the bottom lane, helping out Forgiven and Enrated in a fairly difficult matchup for them. This is super important. They got that early kill, pushing the wave. Notice how Freeze had to go back and just get a second Doran's Blade, while Forgiven can slowly but surely move towards his Phage. Once he gets the picture, I would assume the Phage. There we go. And meanwhile, great gank in the top lane here. Freddy on Morgana will always push that lane. He will always try and poke down your tower slowly. Knowing that was going to happen, Airwax just walked up there. Not sure if there was a ward spotting him. There's now at least for Freddy putting down 2 wards at once. Early kill though for the Fizz.
And correction if I'm wrong here, Svenska last time went for the challenging smite. This time around going chilling. Maybe I'm wrong. Can't recall at this point in time. Brain is a bit frazzled. But nevertheless, it is, of course, chilling smites for Svenska on that Stalker's Blade. Skirmisher Saber picked up for Airwax. He went for the Devourer upgrade, and with that attack speed dagger, looks to be going the same route.
Red been on point with the bubbles here. The very first trade was him bubbling unlimited, really forcing a lot of potions. So he's doing a great job on this Nami early on. It's not easy landing a bubble with no slow being connected at first. Now this mid lane matchup here, because the Zed is getting the advantage over the Ahri, it might force an early arm guard, which really slows down your mid-game power on an Ahri here and your pick potential. Svenska now jumping in on Airwax. Wants to fight more.
Doesn't manage to get the knockup, but Fox manages to jump in. And again, Fox is just... Well, you can see why it was banned previously, right?
Very true.
On form at the moment.
Perfect start for him, also going triple longsword into the Cutlass and Brutalizer later. Always one of the lovely things on Zed. It's so much base attack damage. Let's see here, still a lot of trading. Keep in mind, SK Gaming got that early gank. Another bubble from Enrated. Okay, Q didn't connect him. Forgiven is out of mana at this point here.
Had to use that Valkyrie once again. Freeze and Unlimited trading back and forth. This is a very violent lane between SK and Copenhagen Wolves. Everyone low on mana. Going to be relying on their basic auto attacks to keep themselves in this one. A large minion wave pushing towards Copenhagen Wolves, so they don't want to pick an extended trade. That minion damage adds up incredibly quickly. Level 6 Freddy going to have some extra tools to dodge what looked like an impending gank, but Airwax unable to find an opening and backs away.
We can see how Airwax is kind of afraid of going to the mid lane, also a bit tough to gank his Zed, but he knows that if Svenska is nearby, and they get in that 2-on-2 fight, then it will be very difficult for the Copenhagen Wolves to win it. Especially now that we have this triple longsword as well. Ganking the Morgana is a little bit more safe, not easier, but just a bit safer for him. And also, again, he wants to try and stop this push from Freddy, who's always going to chip away on that tower. Svensson, once again, he's spotting Airwax. And going straight into him. Force him away, just deny this visit. You know he's going to go for that Devour. You know it takes time for him to scale up with it. Try and shut him down with this Rek'Sai early.
Well, smart play from Svenska and a change in playstyle from the previous game, but Lane's obviously helping out in that regard as well somewhat. Fox off to such a great start means he's always going to be able to back up Sven when they go for that invade, as we've already seen. Svenska pitching a tent in the Copenhagen Wolves jungle. He's looking to steal this red buff.
And this is what he likes to do, and this is why SK Gaming picked the way they did in the pick and ban phase. That's why they went for Nami, that's why they went for Corki instead of Tristana, as we saw beforehand, because now you could have this Zed Ahri matchup where you have at least the chance, if you play it well, to get all the pressure early. That's what we see happening. It's pushing up. Top lane, we know Morgana is going to push that lane, so 2 side lanes, or Soul lane is pushing, opens up for Rek'Sai to come in for the ganks. Now, a lot of action in the bottom lane. That was a nice ulti from Svenska.
And Airwax is just trying to get out, needed to blow everything to get clear. Svenskaren's Void Rush at level 6 versus the level 4 of Airwax. What a disparity between these two junglers.
Yeah, really perfect start for SK Gaming in terms of how Svenska likes to play it. You can always invade if you have the stronger jungler and your lanes are pushing up. And suddenly there's no real backup to be seen, because imagine if Ahri leaves the mid lane, she's gonna lose 2 or 3 waves on that tower. And that's way too much XP and gold to give up here in the early game. So love the way SK Gaming has been playing it so far.
So very interestingly, despite the fact that we have different compositions, Airwax got an early kill, SK got an early dragon. Lanes going relatively evenly, despite Soren, of course, falling behind Fox a little bit. Fairly similar to the first version of this matchup, shall we say. We'll stop moving away from referencing game 1 shortly. But 10 minutes on the clock. SK
People are going to
Gaming.
be so confused when they watch the VOD. They're like, oh, that was the last game?
SK Gaming have got themselves a 600-700 gold lead. Warrior Enchantment picked up for Svenskeren. Needlessly large rod for Youngbuck in the top lane, stuck in that lane a little longer, plus the assist versus double Doran's rings and lasting ones.
Did the same before on Lissandra. Sorry, now a reference back to that game again, but
it's hard not to.
Yeah,
it's really hard not to.
Done it before. He farms up to 1600 gold, goes back, and he gets that large rod for himself. So rushing early Hourglass, quite like that into a Z. Had it been against double AP, that's where we typically see like Abyssal coming in before an Hourglass. I've seen Haunting Guys if you want more lane pressure on the cannon, but I do feel like this is fine against the Z, because you know he's going to come looking for you. You need that Hourglass early, because you're going to shine in the fights. A lot more on the cannon now.
Oh, Youngbuck caught by the binding. Soul's Jackals is being charged. We do see the slicing Maelstrom out, but Youngbuck's the one that's in trouble. Chum the Waters is down. Airwax trying to land auto attack after auto attack. Playful Trickster's over, and he gets rooted again. Airwax does pick up the kill thanks to the damage over time from a W. And Svenskeren cleans up. It's a 2-for-1.
But still, this game here still shows why Rek'Sai is so good and why you cannot take these early ganks if you don't know where the jungler is going to be. Svenskeren, second time he counter ganks. First time, he forced a flash from Airwax. Now he gets 2 kills for his team, 1 for Freddy, 1 for himself. Off to such a great start. He's already very far ahead. It's only going to get even worse now.
From Sven. And of course, forgiven once again, shoving these lanes down. Got himself 96 CS to 85 of his opposite number. Bottom lane tower dropped to several hundred hit points.
That early gank was so important on this bottom lane. Forcing Freeze back, forcing him to go Doran's Blade until he had enough gold for that BS sword. Really giving the whole lane advantage. And also full credit to Enrated, landing some great bubbles in all these early trades.
Consistently catching Freeze out. Couple more attacks. And SK Gaming take down the first tower to back up their first dragon and obviously sit in a kill advantage. Sven spotted out by the ward, I believe.
They pinged him at least.
Yeah.
I think they saw him. Oh, he's going on Soren.
Fox is looking in. Deathmark is down. No crossbones yet. Pops and Fox even makes it out. Dodges the stun. Tibbers comes out from Unlimited. Limited's going to be a little careful. Doesn't have the support yet from Airwax. Another dodge up in the top lane. Youngbuck's in trouble and he just gets munched alive. I'm imagining that started with another Dark Binding connecting. Youngbuck simply not having a great day.
It started again
at the moment.
With Morgana simply just pushing that lane against Kennen. Nothing he can do in return to stop it. Setting up an easy dive for Svenskeren. And SK Gaming are looking even better now in this early game. We were talking about, Sana was talking about Svenskeren on the analyst desk. We talked about it around IEM. He's not really been performing lately too well. Now he's really showing what he can do. Once again, he gets that Rek'Sai. And because the lanes are playing correctly as well, he's a push for him so he can invade. He's been taking full advantage of it.
And also, what a difference looking at Fox now on Zed. Yes, Victor's a different champion. He's not going to have that same sort of lane presence and sort of outplay potential, but Fox is super aggressive. He's been in Soren's face the entire time, chasing him down, trying to shove him out of lane. I think Soren's doing a decent job of farming, considering every time we look there, Fox is in his face.
Look what he's doing. He's going for Luden's Echo. That's the only reason you get that large rod early. So a bit like some of the other mid lane champs, we've seen it as a first item. It gives you a lot of extra burst. So top lane, I think you were correct about the binding. Yeah, right in the face of Youngbuck. And then it's a fairly simple dive from it. I don't even think there was an ulti ready for Kennen, but Luden's Echo means that what Soren is going to try and do is simply say, I'm going to fight fire with fire here. I'm just going to have as much damage as possible and see if I can blow you up. No defensive items from him. It's a bit of a risky route, but it will again give him some more burst damage in the first few levels, or early game to mid game with the magic damage coming in.
I think it is brave, considering the way Fox is currently handling himself. He's already shown he can dodge skill shots in this game, which is what matters. Abyssal Scepter completed for Freddy in the top lane. Ninja Tabai wrapped up for Sven as he sits in the middle lane with Forgiven and Unrated. Remember, SK style. Push down outer turrets, get control of Dragon, push down inner turrets. That seems to be the game of the day.
Yeah, get a 40-min Trinity Force and you push even faster. So really great stuff for them. Every lane has won from SK Gaming side, one way or the other. And very big thanks to Svenskeren for really showing up on this Rex side.
Yeah, what a difference.
Baiting on the fist. This again, the difference is that now you got to see that pick, you got to see what it could do early on, and you can kind of tailor your strategy around it.
Information is the name of the game. We do see Copenhagen Wolves now trying to defend. SK stealing away the jungle camps, keeping Airwax down even further. Level 9 to level 8, 57 to 43. And SK gonna get position on the Dragon.
Should be losing a top tower unless Freddy's gonna teleport to the top lane. He has done it before. We see the same setup. He's gonna push out his wave. He walks into the mid lane when they're doing that Dragon, and then he walks back up to the lane after. So I'm not really able to push it too much with just a small wave. Svenskeren is also there to defend. The same setup, you save the teleport, and you still have 5 members around that Dragon. And it is spotted here. Svenskeren was friendly enough to tell him, I have seen you. Please back away.
So Svenskeren trying to defend the tower. Does eat a charm for his trouble. Soren does not commit further despite having some backup in the river. It looks like Enraged's moving up to help defend. Not needed though, Sven's got the wave there.
So we can see how Soren has kind of moved out of the Z lane because he's not building any armor, so he has no defensive items. He was hoping to be a one-on-one against Freddy, but SK Gaming can move the lanes around like they want to now. They got all the auto turrets down. They keep putting Z into Ahri if they want to here, or they can just put Freddy to say, we're just going to save farm, we don't really care. And try and create a play in the bottom lane, because at the moment, Airwax shouldn't be strong enough to win the fights in the split push. He wants to really stack up first on the Devour. He wants to get a bit of armor as well. He's going to look for the fight though. Youngbuck is trying to bait it. So they know SK is going back to 1-3-1. See how they put Fred in the top lane here just to sit nice and safely. And Luden's Echo is completed for Soren. So basically what you do is, yeah, you have 100 stacks when you are supposed to start the one-on-one. So on obviously the first spell you get the 100 damage, 125, I believe it is at this point. And then, because you do your 3 Spirit Rushes, that's 3 abilities, you have your W, you stack it up to 100 again extremely fast, so you're gonna get at least 2 procs doing your combo. And that's where that extra burst damage, like Luden's Echo as the first item, it's the one that gives you the most damage possible, because it gives you the 100 extra magic damage, which is so big. However, it makes you so squishy, and if you do get caught by the likes of a bubble...
Soren gets caught by the bubble, and Rated lands another. We do see Rocket Barrage from Forgiven coming out. Soren forced to dash, rush, flash away, but he makes it out. SK, can they take more from this? Minions are not with them, but they do have wards, and they do have control of the Copenhagen Wolves jungle.
Pushing in again now, everyone walking down here. You got the lanes under control. Kennen is in the bottom lane. There's a ward for him to teleport to. Let's see if Yama want to fight once Soren is back. However, he has no ulti. Just also slowly pushing in. You got that Trinity Devotion. Get the Sheen procs.
Well, that's going to be a tower down. Copenhagen Wolves are not looking to initiate.
Gonna try and get a
reaction from Youngbuck. And Freddy TP's bottom to defend their own tower.
It's falling apart right now.
5,000 gold, Officio. 4 towers to 0 at 18 minutes. The earlier power spike timing of SK, much more in line with their playstyle. Chilling Smite is out. Youngbuck, Slicing Maelstrom is available. When does he pull the trigger? Does he need to pull the trigger? Forced to flash away from what would have been another bubble from Enrated, and just really, really strong play from SK, moving through the jungles, moving lane to lane.
Soren is back in his top lane. Has a big wave this time, and nobody's here to defend, so he should be able to get the tower this time around. But you're still giving up 4 already. Gave up a tier 2. Never mind. I mean, there's just another one. Svensson coming. Okay, he could have gotten that one. He didn't have to back away here. Playing a little bit too careful from Soren's side, but obviously easier for us to say because we can see the whole thing.
This is actually an interesting dilemma. Or not dilemma, an interesting insight into SK Gaming. You know, had this been a best of 5, let's say hypothetically the game had played out and, you know, teams wanted to play the next set, SK have really shown a different approach to the game in contrast to previously. Much more aggressive, different picks, much more in the face, and it's working out.
They show different picks, but the same style.
Yeah,
it's always the same deal here for them. Now, this is the duel we've looked for.
Deathmark does get dodged. Airwax forced to flank.
Oh, beautiful.
Close from Fox. Close from Fox. The face plant we shall ignore, thanks to the follow-up Shadow Slash damage.
Yeah, Airwax not strong enough yet to take this fight, and that really is again another problem for the Copenhagen Wolves. They got nobody to hold this Z. And just to go back to my point before with Ari and Luden's Echo, remember I said as a first item, it's one of the best in terms of how much damage you can do. Just so people don't jump on Twitter and say, no, Deathcap late game gives you way more. First item.
You need not worry about that, Deficio. Your calls are not in question. Young Buck, 163 CS. Got that Sorcerer Shoes plus Hourglass completed. Has had for a little while. We've not seen him use his ultimate positively yet for the team. Copenhagen Wolves have been playing so reactive and so defensive. They have to make up a lot of ground. Not a single tower to their name. No dragons. And barely able to farm their own jungle. It's difficult to see how Copenhagen Wolves come back into this game without strong vision and punishing SK unawares.
Yeah, they're gonna have to invest into pink wards in their own jungle. So whenever they're pushing back the waves, like we see Soren trying to do here, you can still walk through your own jungle and don't have to risk SK Gaming suddenly sitting there and just killing you. Because you know SK is gonna sit in the lane, so you get information on them, say, okay, they're in the lanes right now. As long as we can quickly rotate between lanes ourselves, we can defend. You're not gonna stop a dragon at this point. You gotta give that one over. But that's where between these dragons spawning, between the 3rd and the 4th, that's where you got these 5 or 6 minutes to try and create a play. And then you're simply looking for SK to make a mistake. If you see one of them backing away from one of the lanes, that's where you quickly go and try and set up a 2v1 or 3v1 gank on the likes of Freddy. Here's the 2v1.
Well, let's see what they can do. Chum does connect. Freddy's thrown out Soul Shackles. Airwax is in trouble. Freddy's not down yet. We do see the Tormented Soul hopped away from but Charm doesn't connect, nor does the Orb of Deception. And Freddy survives the 1v2 and allows SK to secure their 3rd dragon.
And that really was the setup we just talked about here. You cannot fight for dragons, so you gotta try and create a play somewhere. 2v3, 1v3, whatever. They didn't get the kill. Sven's gonna have to look for something.
By the charm, the Tibbers comes down. Soren's out of mana.
They gotta run now.
And Sven needs to back away. Can they get away? Copenhagen Wolves in full retreat. There is a flash available for Soren. Enrated is coming up. There's a tidal wave to follow. Look at the vision. Have no sight on the Copenhagen Wolves. Enrated throws out the bubble. It's been flashed away. I think that's a decent tidal wave. The Blade of the Ruined King, plus some more AoE. And Fox cleans house.
So in a flame there, the coach of SK Gaming getting very hyped. Dentist not gonna be too happy about this one. Would have been weird at least if he was super hyped. Yay, my teammate died.
Well, it wasn't the case. We did see Freddy teleporting down to the bottom lane after surviving the 1v2. SK punish Wolves once more and look to secure another tower.
It's so tough to do anything. Once you fall behind to so many split pushing threats, teleport and a Rek'Sai ulti. I mean, yes, you try and control the side lanes, but you just can't. There are too many ways for SK to defend, and they have all the time in the world here to decide. Now, Airwax is gonna go for the one-on-one.
Freddy. Jungle Watchers is out. Black Shield absorbs some of that damage.
Nice dodge.
Good dodge from the playful Trickster. He's going to be going in blind if he continues to chase. Urchin Strike connects. Multiple auto attack on the Sea Stone Trident. One more needed. And Airwax runs Freddy down. Golf claps from the audiences. It's not the greatest assistance. It helps. Every little bit helps.
That was the perfect play.
Every
Perfect
little
play.
bit helps.
This is the best
Doesn't
you can
result
hope
in
for.
anything else.
No, but this is the best you can hope for because now you have 5 guys against the 4 from SK, so you should be able to push down and at least get the wave down to the towers and again buy you more time because you're still waiting for Airwax to really become stronger and stronger. We see how good he is in the one-on-one, so we know Freddy can't hold him. It's gonna have to be either the Rek'Sai just trying to sit and like keep him at bay and then use his ulti to help his team. That's not going to work either from SK, so the Zed is going to be the one. And we know late game what's going to happen. If Airwax use Trickster correctly, we can beat Zed in a one-on-one.
Oh, Enrated's bubbles are on form this game. They need to steal away that Raptor, but look at this. 2 members of Copenhagen Wolves down in the bottom half of the map means SK can start this Baron. Sven is taking those spikes sitting in behind. There is a flash from Youngbuck. He's not even going to need it, in fact, as he does get into range. Flashes finally exhausted as he throws down the slicing maelstrom. The damage is mitigated. Freeze looking to set up more, but he just gets minced by the Dark Binding. SK Gaming grab 2 easy kills and a Baron. In reply, Wolves get their 2nd tower of the game.
Yeah, Wolves should just have given up that Baron here. As soon as Soren showed in the bottom lane, that was an easy call for SK. Another ulti from Svensken, ready to defend. Soren has to back away once again.
Doesn't connect. Soren's in trouble. Spirit rushed once. Spirit rushed a second time. Sven is chasing. When does he cast the burrow? That's the question. Prey Seeker tags. There is support from Enrated far away. Flash into knock-up, into bite. Tibbers comes down from Unlimited. Now Unlimited's in retreat. Gonna find the support of Airwax as Sven gets a secondary knock-up. Chum the Waters throws. It connects with the Queen of the Xerxai. Playful Trickster up. Airwax continues to throw down the damage. He's now burrowed. Enrated looking to connect with another bubble. Cooldown, is it available? The answer is no. Now it's a fish-on-fish battle as Sushi is on the retreat. Enrated gets the slow. He's flashed, looking for more. Connects, but I think the E timed out. Trying to get in range. Here comes Fox. Here comes Freddy. Airwax is in trouble, and he does get away. Ignis Slash didn't connect, but Youngbuck eats a bubble in one of the longest chases in League of Legends. SK get a string of kills and set themselves up for another potential tower.
Yeah, everything is just going their way. I mean, the 4 kills for Copenhagen Wolves are all onto Airwax at this point. Nobody else can really do anything. Soren not going to show us a whole lot of his Ari with this new build. Just got soloed by, obviously, an extremely fit and Baron buff Rek'Sai.
Definitely the case. 4-1-4 on Svenskeren. Warmog, Spirit Visage, Warriors Enchant, Jungle Item. Tower number 6 falls. Approaching 10k, and SK have just put a flag with the blue and white of the SK logo in the jungle of Copenhagen Wolves.
You can even see how they're just aiming for the massive mid-game spike. Forgiven went back and got a last whisper. That's normally not a very good early item on a Corki, but because he had the gold for it, that's what's gives you the most value, just right there before the start of that Baron. That's why he bought it, just to continue fighting, knowing we're winning the split push war here. Even against the Fizz at this point, let's just keep pushing our advantage.
And I really think somebody needs to give Enrated such praise. The bubbles that he has landed consistently this entire game has allowed SK to chase and get multiple kills over and over and over. SK now with the relentless siege. 5-man strong in the middle lane, waiting for those Baron-empowered minions to knock on the Wolves' inhibitor turrets.
With Fnatic losing earlier today, H2K losing yesterday, they should make it almost guaranteed for SK a top 2 spot. I know at least they are playing Medium Makers next week, a game they should obviously be able to win as well, and then sit in one of these playoffs positions where you will go straight into the semi-final. No reason to play quarterfinals. You have a bye in the first week. And obviously playing for a trip to Madrid.
That's it.
Well, you basically guaranteed because the 3rd and 4th place as well.
Spring Split finals in Madrid. SK Gaming showing that when they get to play their game, very little that can stand in their way. Dragon number 4 secured at the 27-minute mark. 6 minutes timer, ticking time bomb. Hell, it's not even a ticking time bomb. SK don't even need it. That could be the final nail in the coffin, basically.
Yeah, if they don't manage to push into the base here, because now again the Copenhagen Wolves can move between inhibitors, so it's fairly easy for them to move around. You just wait for that last strike, and once you get it, you are so strong and you have so much damage on towers that a Corki with a Trinity Force is just gonna walk up, give it a few hits, and it's down to 50%. So SK Gaming here, they don't even need to create a play. Can wait for that last dragon. Baron, it's gonna spawn as well before. Otherwise, I mean, just do the same 1-3-1. Be careful though, you're not pushing the lane a little bit too early here. You don't have pressure in any other lane.
This is confidence if
you need that mid lane pushing up first, at least before you want to do this.
Oh, I think he's going to go in. Chum the Waters connects. Playful
it. There we
tricks there
go.
as well as Deathmark.
No
It's a
ulti.
battle of dodges. They've traded back and forth. Frozen Heart is up. Fox is in retreat. No emotion from either of the coaches there.
Nobody died. Beautiful little dodge from Airwax on
As
the
well as
Deathmark.
Fox, to be fair.
Sure. Getting out of it. We'll buy a bit more time for the Wolves. Honestly, for SK, just do 1-4 setup now. You don't really need all 3 lanes pushing at this point, because you're just buying time for that Baron to respawn anyway. So if you just push the mid and the top lane, kind of like they were trying to do, you can just walk into the jungle of Copenhagen Wolves, place down these few deep wards you're going to need, wait for Baron to respawn, bait out a fight again, you get the 5 versus 5, or you get the free Baron.
20 stacks on that Devourer buff from Airwax. Got himself plus 45 bonus magic damage. I like to keep track of it as it's not a normal jungle item. 10,000 gold difference in 30 minutes, as we've already highlighted. And SK simply waiting for those primary objectives of Dragon and Baron that will unlock access to the inhibitor turret. Have maintained near absolute control of the Wolves jungle. I mean, from the minute 1 of this game, Svenskeren was invading, stealing camps with the help of Fox. Forgiven is going to use that Mercurial Scimitar.
Very early.
Drop the fish where it stands. Airwax caught out. Soren looking for Enrated. Not able to actually secure the kill yet. Does recommit. Does get knocked up in the air. Enrated with a prediction bubble doesn't connect. But Tibbers locks up Svenskeren. Now Freddy gets a 3-man Soul Shackles and everybody from the Wolves is forced to split. The Hourglass is out and Sven is pulling 3. Can he get the kill? The answer is no. Youngbuck dropped in the back line. As Fox does still have Deathmark available all the while.
Though.
Forgiven shoving down the top lane. They trade 1 for 1, but Forgiven's the one that gets the objective pressure. He's got the assistance of Enrated.
Pushing in Airwax doesn't really have a whole lot of wave play he can offer, but he might try and go in. No QSS for Forgiven this time around. No ulti either for Airwax then.
Almost developed. Just came off cooldown, Officio. But I think it is too late, unfortunately. No Spirit Rush. Let's see, where is Airwax? No home guards. It's going to take him a little bit of time to make his way in, but SK have unlocked the first avenue into the Wolves base, and it is the top lane turret. Look at all of the wards in that area of the jungle, and with 3 seconds till Baron, that could be the way in.
So, Soren trying to get a pig on Enrated, but he simply doesn't have the damage for it. Enrated even went for Righteous Glory, so he's pretty tanky on this Nami here. Freddy with a great ulti. Youngbuck not really managing to do a whole lot on this cannon. It's obviously been set so far behind. SK Gaming can at least get a 1-for-1. Meanwhile, Corgi is pushing, so that was a 4v5 going even.
Copenhagen Wolves stalling marginally, but with the exposed inhibitor base, 1 more mistake, and SK Gaming will have access to super minions. Ward cleared out in the Baron pit. And as predicted Officio, with Baron live, SK seems to have set their sights on the objective. Did Airwax get his hands on red? It actually went to Sven.
Sven got
went
it,
to Sven. Yeah. Cheeky.
Well, he's been taking pretty much everything away from Airwax today.
But we shouldn't be surprised with a 50 CS difference between the two at the moment, right?
The greedy Dane in the jungle. Copenhagen was trying to respond and get a mid tower, at least push it in and move SK away from this Baron here. Kind of open up for them to come in and try and clear this pink ward. Problem is, SK is still around. We might see a fight for it.
SK were a little bit split up. Youngbuck barely dodging the dark binding from SK, but a tidal wave is down. Don't know if that's the end of the world for SK, considering how far they are ahead, but any advantage that the Wolves can garner, they will take. 33 minutes, SK continuing to play the Baron dance. I feel like we've gone back to the 2014 season. We'll see how long SK decides to dance. The answer is not very long.
Oh, they want to force a fight here. Freddy's going to the bottom lane because it's pushing up, but he's at least getting close to it. Realizing there might have been a fight happening, so they just want this wave pushing out. But as long as they defend the pink wards, they can keep Copenhagen walls around here, and then it's just a matter of time before you land a binding, or you get that opening to really take the Baron, while Copenhagen walls have to go somewhere else, or someone has a bad recall timing. So they keep staying around. It's still going to be a while before this wave hits the tower. Obviously, Freddy should be the guy going back and defending it.
Luckily for the Wolves, the top lane is also going to be pushing towards SK.
They can rush it here.
So
if Copenhagen want to trade for that 5th dragon, Baron for SK.
Revealed by the Dragon. The Wolves have not started it
will.
yet. They're trading Dragon number 1 at 30 minutes, which is going to be immensely valuable. 6% at this stage with several hundred AP, AD, etc. It's going to be very, very useful. But have they given up too much? Baron secured by SK Gaming, as well as having an exposed inhibitor, as well as having faster recall times. It's a tough choice, but the Wolves made it.
Yeah, I think it was okay, honestly. You are so far behind at this point, and SK could keep dancing around that Baron for such a long time. Now, with the 6% and no 5th dragon for SK, it's still a bit of... I wouldn't call it an even fight. But at least the Copenhagen Wolves are in a better situation than against the 5 dragon of buffed up SK Freddy.
Oh, Airwax is in trouble.
Gonna get a kill.
So much for being able to 1v1 Freddy. Hourglass wasn't even needed. Inhibitor going to be secured here by SK. Copenhagen Wolves not committing to this fight at all. Teleports to the middle lane. SK with the Baron-empowered minions. They're going for another one, Deficio.
We'll be able to get that one as well. Airwax 25 seconds. He's the guy with all the kills. Well, I'm lying to you. Free's got 1 kill for himself. So now the base is completely open. This has just been such a standard SK Gaming game. They are controlling the laning phase. They get all the outer turrets early. They do the 1-3-1 setup. And it's just so tough to respond to. Once you fall behind just one lane, that's where it becomes nearly impossible, at least for some of the teams here in Europe, to beat SK Gaming.
Nexus turret has dropped. Super minions in 2 lanes. Forgiven actually flashing away from the charm. Youngbuck is trying to get in range. The slicing Maelstrom does get a few, but is exhausted. The damage is mitigated. In the backline, Fox is pulling the attention of several members, but it's in fact Youngbuck that is down after the golden hourglass of Soren pops. Svenskeren tries to run him down. Burrows, unburrows, does not get the knockup, but does sink the fangs. And Svenskeren picks up another kill. 5, 2, and 5. Inner Flame waiting for the inevitable. Dentist. We have a lot to talk about with this team after this one.
Yeah, Copenhagen was 0-2 now this week here. Elements getting closer and closer. They play Gambit later. If they can win that one, suddenly we have quite a fight. And now Airwax will die another time.
Yet another kill as Airwax goes down. SK Gaming convincingly defeat the Copenhagen Wolves. Fend off the Fishy Fizz. And firmly grasp onto first place on the table in the regular split.
Yeah, 2 wins now, down to H2K and Fnatic under them in the standings. Looking great for SK Gaming, and really full credit to them. They changed up the style a little bit. They banned away the Karthus this time around, got a skill matchup in the mid lane, won it, and really used this Rek'Sai early game so well to simply shut down Airwax and the rest of Copenhagen Wolves.
So the Copenhagen Wolves now are in a position where they have 7 wins and 9 losses. They are 1 victory ahead of Elements, who are 6 wins and 9 losses. So if Elements, as you already said, and we have highlighted, beat Gambit later today, then that means there is a tie for that position, and the head-to-head, I believe, is also even.
Yeah.
So that would force a tiebreaker for that 6th and final position. Gambit currently are in 5th position, 8 wins and 7 losses. So that Elements game is equally important because it then puts them 1 game out of being 6th, maybe 7th position. So that, you know, final few slots in the playoff bracket,
a lot of things are still happening.
Is very, very scary.
All across the board, we're looking at relegation zone. There are a few teams fighting. Elements is still in that race, by the way.
Yeah.
For around the relegation spots, Rocket Giants and MYM obviously as well. And then SK Gaming sitting pretty secure. We think we can say as #1. But then you got to get the second top 2 between Fnatic and H2K. You got the mid-game positions here. A lot of fighting going on, and that's just awesome because it means for week 9, every game is going to count.
And you cannot discount anybody, no matter how high or how low they are on the standings. So SK Gaming pick up another win against Copenhagen Wolves. This was a remake, and we just want to reiterate why the game was remade. So there was a visual bug on Victor, who was being played by SK Gaming's Fox. That made his health bar flicker between full and empty during a very important team fight. After the fight, the Wolves noticed the effect that the misinformation had and paused the game. Reported it to our officials, and our officiating team then confirmed the bug's presence in-game. And since it had an impact on the match, the Wolves were offered the remake, which is a policy outlined in the LCS rules. So we have determined that this is a champion-specific bug. Victor will be disabled until further notice going forward. Just want to let everybody know, SK Gaming come back after the remake. They were in the lead for the first time round. Not as sizable, not as noticeable. But in the remake, a much more convincing victory, and they go 13-3 on the split.
Looking good for them now. I mean, Giants yesterday was a very shaky performance. They lost the early game there. Didn't look like SK Gaming. Now today, with this game and this win over Copenhagen Wolves, they are still playing the same style. It can still work here. We're going to have to see around the playoffs if other teams here can build a strategy around it, because you know what SK Gaming is going to do. It's not suddenly going to change from day to day. That's
the interesting thing. That, you know, we kept saying it, and I said it yesterday as well, but the roadmap, the plan, the way to beat SK was clearly exposed at the Intel Extreme Masters in terms of strategy, in terms of picks and bans. We've just watched 2 games back to back. We watched yesterday's game. SK consistently do the same thing, but they do it at such a high level, it's very, very difficult to counteract it. We'll see if anybody can figure it out as we get closer to wrapping up the split. For now, it is time to step on stage where Pyrotechnics is standing by with SK's Sven Skjern.
Thank you very much for that one, guys. Of course, I am with Sven Skjern, the victorious Sven Skjern. First of all, congratulations on your win. You are now 13-3, you guys still remaining the top spot in the LCS going into playoffs. But first thing, big question I want to ask you guys, because everyone's been talking about the jungle, a lot of the crazy stuff we expect to see on this new patch. Did you expect the jungle Fizz, to be honest, especially with the Devourer skirmishers?
I didn't really expect it. I thought he would, especially in the second game, I thought he would go for like Nidalee when it was open, because I consider Nidalee and Rek'Sai to be like tier 1, so it was kind of surprising.
Well, there you go. I mean, there's been a lot of talk of a lot of different things popping up. What do you personally think is very strong? I know you'd picked the Rek'Sai, it was obviously open, still the top on a lot of people's sites, but what are your personal expectations to see in the coming weeks?
Since we were at IEM, we didn't really have time to play on 5.5, so we kind of just prepared for 5.4, because it still seems like the best junglers are still Rek'Sai and stuff like that, so didn't really play so much on 5.5 yet.
So it's definitely some things to work out there. And speaking of IEM, you did talk about that. I wanted to bring this one up because you looked a little shaky there, and then you come back, and obviously you beat Giants yesterday, but it was far from the surgical victory we've been expecting from you. Today, however, especially in the remake, you guys looked incredibly strong again. How confident are you after that performance going into the playoffs?
Yesterday was, I would say Giants is pretty good, especially at roaming, so it kind of caught us off by surprise, I'd say. But I think after IEM, we kind of look into our champion pools and like improving everything as in general. So I think we're just going to be a stronger team after the IEM.
That's good. The international experience, always good for those teams. Now, that's enough for us down here. We're going to step it back up to the analyst desk where Cyanide and Shocks are ready to break that down.
Yeah, we're still here. Thank you so much, Pyrotechnics, and those words from Sven Skjern. I want to go back to that Fizz because I think it's a little odd that Airwax would go back to picking it. We heard from you and Kikis how it's pretty hard in the early game, and he knew he's going to have a hard time, especially versus Rek'Sai. I just don't really get it.
I just think it was a strategy. They practiced a lot, like going with the Fizz split push and then that way winning the game, but it didn't work out in any of these games, mostly because SK was just tactically the superior team, and every time they tried to go for a pick, SK just capitalized and pushed, and even though they managed to get some kills sometimes, the execution was not flawless and they just lost the objectives.
Yeah, it's very odd to me, especially since the game was remade. And do you think it was a case of we only made this one strategy, we have to go with it? Because I feel like SK adapted a little bit more and always wanted to show a little bit more.
In the first game, it didn't go that bad with the fizz pick, so I think they just thought that, all right, we are just going to do it a bit better this time, and it's going to work, and we're going to win. But it was the opposite.
Yeah, it was. What did you make of SK Gaming? Let's take this second game, so the final game, and then the game yesterday, and just kind of their curve after IEM and going into that first place spot.
I think today, in the second game now, the SK actually played really good. It's the SK we are used to seeing Svenskeren putting a lot of early pressure, like we saw him at the start of the split, and not just being AFK. So it's definitely a step in the right direction.
All right, yeah, I'm still scratching my head about the fizz pick, actually. And then N-rated, we had a little bit of comments on him during IEM, the fact that he's very good on that Lulu, he's not very good on that Annie, and also the same thing for Forgiven and maybe his champion pool. But the thing is, for an AD carry, they've all played all these AD carries a million times probably in solo queue and in teams. How do you think that is realistically going to affect him? Because he could have gone something else here, yet he wanted to go for that Corki.
Yeah, it's a bit weird that he actually didn't go for the Lucian. Maybe it's something like you don't want to pick Lucian in the Graves. They have respect for the Copenhagen Wolves bot lane, so they were not that confident in the matchup, so he went for the Corki instead. Could be something like he was just spamming other ADs this last week, practicing them because they obviously saw the problem they were having at IM.
Yeah, had to level it up a little bit. The same for N-rated, who we've criticized for a bit, as I said, now going for that Nami. Do you see a growth of N-rated of the time that you played with him and now, or maybe a difference in the way that he plays the game?
When I was playing with him, N-rated was just really known for his Leona and initiate aggressive plays, and now he's playing the more passive support, so he's like totally changed his playstyle. I don't know why, but he has.
Yeah, he has, and it must be a confidence booster for him as well, because Nami is, of course, a high-skill champion. Also, my favorite champion in the game, so I'm always happy when that gets picked. But for the Copenhagen Wolves here, this was such a crucial week for them. How will this taint them going into the next weeks? Because it seemed like the thing we had praised them for before are still there. Like, Youngbuck is doing better in lane, it's going better for them. RX can make things happen. Soren has had some good games, but it seems like it's falling apart just before the playoffs, or, getting to the playoffs, rather.
Yeah, honestly, this game, I think the problem was they were like wolves hunting in a pack, and they got punished for that. Just SK pushing down the turrets, taking the objectives, and wolves not managing to get enough money and XP with those kills, so they just fell behind and lost.
Yeah, we will see how they can crank that up if they go into the next week, if they want to secure that playoff spot. Well, coming up after the break, Roccat will try and pick up their second win against Giants as they look to protect their spot in the summer split. That's all happening in just 3.5 minutes. We'll see you then.
Copenhagen Wolves at a record of 7 and 8 really cannot afford to lose games.
Now, this is the duel we've looked for.
Deathmark does get dodged. Airwax forced to flank.
Oh!
Airwax is in trouble, and he does get away. Bigness slash didn't connect, but Youngbuck eats a bubble. Tibbers locks up Svenskeren. Now Freddy gets a 3-man Soul Shackles, and everybody from the Wolves is forced to split, flashing away from the charm. Youngbuck is trying to get in range. His Slicing Maelstrom does get a few, but is exhausted and the damage is mitigated. SK Gaming convincingly defeat the Copenhagen Wolves.